Corey here with another podcast with Healing for Yanni. Down here, beautiful Millers Pointing on Gadigal country. It's beautiful down here. I'll pass over to the brother I've got here today.
JP, name is John Paul Christian. Everyone calls me JP. Grew up in Sydney, from Kiara, 32 acres. Yeah, grew up with this bloke Corey. So, yeah.
Thanks for coming in, my brothers. So yeah, you grew up you're from Kiara, grew up in the city, so how was growing up for you?
Yeah, no, it was good. Grew up, so I moved, I was born in Orange.
Yep.
Mum and dad moved to Orange. Then I moved to Sydney when I was a baby. Grew up in Sydney my whole life. Single mum. Dad was always in and out of jail.
Yep.
So it was me, my dad, and my brother. My brother's got a different dad, but my brother was there for me. Then my uncle lived with us, and
Yeah. So where'd you go? So when you moved from Orange to Sydney, whereabouts were you living?
Mainly in Marrickville. So yeah, lived in Marrickville my whole life since I was a kid.
Yeah. How was it growing up in Marrickville?
No, it was good, bro. Had family around there. Cousins close that lived in Enmore, Marrickville, Newtown. There's a big community of Aboriginal people there.
Yeah.
It was good.
So a lot of black kids running around
Yeah, a lot of black kids running around. Mostly my cousins getting into trouble, as they do.
there? Yeah. So what school did you go to?
I went to Campbellville Public, and then from there went to Dulwich High.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Look, as you said, we grew up together, so if I don't ask the question, where did your public school start though, bro?
So my public school started at Redfern Public School. I got expelled in kindergarten, as everyone knows. Yeah, that's a bit of a story. The teacher, we won't say the other person's name that got expelled with me, but the teacher would let us go to the toilet, and we decided to throw chairs and tables in the classroom.
Yeah, I was in that class.
No.
I remember. I remember you day one having to sit in a circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that does come up.
Yeah.
Lyle and Lorna like to bring it up a lot.
Lyle loves to bring it up. Yeah.
But yeah, so how was primary school for you? Was a lot of black fellas at school for you?
Yeah, Redfern was 99% black fellas. You know?
Yeah.
We had the odd other person, good mate of mine like Eric Tane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had good mates and that. And but Camdenville was mixed. You know, it was Aboriginal. There was kids from Newtown. And there was Islander kids. So it was bit mixed. You know?
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. And I guess growing up in Sydney, it's that multiculturalism. Sometimes we learn from different.
Yeah. Especially growing up in Marrickville, there's a lot of Vietnamese and Greeks and Lebanese, so I got to mix with a lot of different nationalities there, you know, so it's good.
That was the food.
Oh, yeah, Marrickville there, bro. Pork rolls, best pork rolls in Marrickville, you know?
Yeah. So then going to high school in Dudley Jewel, how was that?
Yeah, it was good. I could have went to, as my mum keeps bringing up sometimes, but I had a scholarship to go to Newington.
Yep.
Turned it down, didn't want to go to an all-boys school. For some reason I wanted to go to a mixed school with all my cousins and girls being there. But went to Dulwich Hill, met some good friends I'm still mates with now, and learned some other traits at school as well. It wasn't some good traits, but yeah. Turned it into, sort of made me who I am today, really. Like, I was sort of like a kid mixed in between, you know, looking for a father figure role and trying to find a way, trying to be a man, you know?
Yeah. So did you play sport growing up as well?
Pardon me?
Did you play sport?
Yeah, I played with you. Played rugby league, played basketball, played Rovers. We had a gun side down there in the grand final.
Yeah.
We had players like Travis, Reece Robinson, Buddy Gordon, Rob Ryan, yourself, you know what I mean? It was good times, bro. You make your mates there, and we're all brothers still to this day. You know, I see the boys, and nothing's changed. It's mad.
That's good, bros. So you said you picked up some good traits and some bad traits.
Yeah.
So what were some of the good traits you picked up?
Obviously the looks, but honestly, rather with the good traits, it's just with my mum and dad really teaching me respect and just respect people, how you want to be treated, I feel I've got a good personality. I'm always happy, you know, and I try and be the best person I am myself, you know, and try not to look down on anyone as well.
Yep. And what some of the bad traits, bros?
Well, the bad traits are obviously went down the wrong path, crime, drugs, addictions, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So leaving school, what did you do when you first left school?
I decided to leave school halfway through year 11. I had big plans in my head that I was going to be a youth worker and this and that. And the day I left, the next day I didn't even go try and enroll in TAFE. I just went with the boys and started doing the stuff, you know. Yeah, you know.
So where did that lead you, bro, doing that stuff?
Quickly led me downhill to doing crime. Started off, I don't know, when you're little, you do little things like steal lollies from the shop. So like, I never felt bad about it, and I got caught for it, you know. But I think as I got older, I think them little things, and then I seen it around me, growing up in Marrickville, obviously Redfern, Waterloo. You see them things, you know, and it becomes normalised.
Yeah.
So the next day, all my mates, I wanted to leave school because my mates left school.
Yep.
My mates weren't doing nothing, you know. Stopping crime, you know.
So some of the other stuff you're kind of doing around that time, so you know, we know how that environment works. You know, a bit of crime, a bit of drinking here and there. What are some of the other things you're doing to fill your time?
So yeah, it was during the week, obviously bored during the day. Me and the boys, I'll go meet up with someone, go do things like start off like breaking into houses and stuff like that. Then you get your money, you know what I mean. And then on the weekend you start like smoking, try smoking cigarettes. Didn't like that, you know what I mean. Tried Yandi, didn't like Yandi when I was a kid. And I started drinking. Found the alcohol, and I think that's what made me forget all the problems, and it made me help me escape from everything.
Yeah. And how long did you use alcohol for?
So first drink was for like 15. Then I've been 7 months off the drink now, right? So I'm 37 now.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks, bro.
That's good, bro. You know, and so as you said, drinking helped you numb and forget things and just try and, I guess, live a normal life. In these 7 months, what have you learned?
In 7 months I've learned a lot. I'm still learning today, but the main thing I've learned is you can't sit around and wait for other people to help you. I was always the type, because mum obviously, she has the biggest heart, you know what I mean? And if I ever struggled, mum would always help me, and so like always leaned on mum for help. And then this time, 7 months ago, I literally was on a bender, and mum said that this is it. My sister-in-law, that's my sister Jazz, you know, she said this is it. And then my girlfriend, she said this is it, you know, and I heard about it a lot. Once they really family says this is it, you're on your own devices, you know, and so I had to do it myself and stop playing the victim and poor me. So I had to go and do it myself. Yeah. That's the main thing I really learned.
Yeah. So going back, you know, when you just started drinking and doing a bit of crime, what was the exhalation for you then? So what was the next experiences and stuff?
Obviously jail. Went to jail for 4 years, 7 years all up. Then obviously the drugs come apart, you know. For me in jail, I didn't turn, as people know, there's the thing called the butte, you know what I mean? And, I didn't turn the butte in jail. I always had this thing about heroin and butte because of I seen my dad and other family members and in our area it was a big thing, you know, and so I stayed away from it. And but I was using, when I got out, I used other drugs, I think, just to numb my pain from the stuff that happened in jail and stuff, you know what I mean? So just the ice and all that came along, you know what I mean?
So that's been one of your big factors, is probably the ice, since it's...
Rack was the big one, cocaine. And eventually, you know what I mean? You spend so much money on coke, you're like, you spend too much, so you just suck it on the eye, you know? And, and you just, it dies at some level, right?
Yeah.
It takes your soul, that's
Yeah.
untalkable. It's like something just, you don't want anyone to get on, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, so get down. So when you first got out, what was your plans and aspirations?
So my plans and aspirations, bro, was I wanted to be a youth worker, work with young youth.
Yep.
Even like community service, like with fellas that are struggling. But at that age, because I was a young person, I was 19 when we were in the jail, got out at 23, took on 24. So I wanted to help the young youth, because I was young when I was in the jail. I wanted to stop that pattern.
Yep.
And I had the opportunity. I got a traineeship with Father Chris Riley.
Yep.
With Youth Off the Streets, and just the addictions. I didn't stick with it,
Yeah.
I actually went into the boys' homes at Rugby, spoke to a couple of the young fellas, and they listened. And I was still a bit young growing up, and my addictions were just getting the better of me.
Yeah.
So I didn't stick it out.
Yep. But it's a big thing, isn't it? Addictions. It's people have addictions and they can work a normal life and still have addictions.
Functioning addict.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's interesting because you think of where we grew up. There may have been functioning addicts, but we only see the addicts on the street.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
And that's just another thing, like being an addict, like not knowing I was an addict when I was young, and then I started working. And then people go to the pub on a Friday, Saturday night. You think it's a normal thing because you had hard work. You know what I mean? But my drinking will turn into from them going home at 12 o'clock at night to me getting home at 12 o'clock afternoon on a Sunday. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I still didn't see that I was an addict or so I still wanted to try and live a normal life, but really I couldn't.
And because then again in those circles you're in, I was like, oh, you party hard.
Yeah.
You take it as a I do.
Yeah, you do. And like sometimes there was a phase with the boys, let's see who can remember the longest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I kept doing that. Then the boys at home working these days,
Yeah.
So,
And it's interesting because you're going from, I guess, doing crime to support an addiction to coming out and then having a job that kind of supported that addiction as well.
Yeah, so the thing was I've had a couple of jobs, but the job before this was I was on the city council.
Yep.
And my addiction was getting pretty bit bad on there. And I started taking endones and oxycontin tablets. And so before I wake up, I have a couple of endones before I go to work. So it was giving me energy to get through the day. And but me, I thought I was just having a buzz, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But then it became a habit, and then I sort of was trying to be honest with them at the City of Sydney.
Yeah.
But because it was government, then I was sort of holding back a bit, But then coming to Wildflower, obviously, as everyone knows, it's my brother and his best mate. He's like a brother to me. That's their business. And when I got clean, I was up front with them, And they knew that. They said, look, we knew you were going through your own stuff. But I told them there was times it came to work and I looked ahead, they weren't too happy.
Yep.
But it was about me being honest, and not just being honest, just trying to get leg up or something. It's about being honest with you myself, because when you start lying to yourself, it's easy to lie to everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to have a look in the mirror this time 7 months ago and say, who do you want to be? What do you want to do with your life? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
It's good, bro. So going back here a couple of stages in addiction, and I guess the justification from using, as I said, crack, cocaine, to then using ice, because there's that stigma still around ice. So how did that work in your own head, if you can remember?
Yeah, it was like I was doing it with like people I knew I could trust, like that wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
But then it was a thing like when you do drugs, as you know, people start trying to sell because they think they can make money, but they're always want to support in their habit. So then when I started selling it, then I started venturing out and finding new people because I wanted it off me.
Yeah.
But they didn't know I was doing it. But then I said, I'm doing it too. I was doing it slyly with the other people that would slide with people that would go to work and do it.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where my habit was getting too much and wasn't making any money. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was just went downhill. It was going, you know, going for like 3 days, 4 or 5 days. I remember I think the longest was like six days. You know, probably didn't even shower. Or,
Yeah.
you know, just didn't give no fucks about myself.
Yeah.
Didn't care. You know.
And that's the big thing too, eh? It's when you look back on it, because you've always prided yourself on being clean, being well groomed,
Mm.
and as you said before, you count yourself as a pretty good looking brother.
Yeah.
So looking back at that, you know, going for a week and not showering,
Yeah.
probably within inside you, like, you fucking idiot, what are you doing?
100%. Like what are you fucking doing? Like, you fucking have a chat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bro, I was saying that my cousin's house, just around the corner from Redfern Street. All I had to do was have a shower, go to the barbers and say, bro, I'm struggling, you know, they would have gave me a haircut.
Yeah.
You know, and that shame of walking around in the day and someone seeing me full bushy hair, like
Yeah.
rough, you know, but that's not me, you know, and that shame of, because I was scattered as well, and you don't want people seeing you like that, you know.
Yeah.
So,
But having enough of the insight to know what you're looking
yeah,
for as well.
there's you know, I mean, you know what, and you don't even want to look at the mirror, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
looked at myself in the mirror and like turned my head and cried.
Yeah.
The person I was looking at in the mirror is just not the person I've been looking at my whole life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's scary, bro.
Yeah.
But I had to get to that point because some people are still in it, that they don't see that it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting, pal, because I've done some work with different races of people, black fellas, white fellas, under fellas.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, it's the role reversal. It's when they're deeper in their addiction, they can look in the mirror and think they look the best they've ever.
Yeah, 100. Well, bro, I remember before when I lost weight because I've been times I was chubby from the drink and
Yeah.
bad eating and stuff like that, and then obviously get on the eye and I lost a bit of weight and then like I'm taking photos, smiling, thinking I look mad.
Yeah.
But I look back at them photos and my eyes are just like sunken in. I got black stuff under my eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember, yeah, you put a post up with that a few months ago.
Yeah.
I was taking these pictures thinking I was looking the best,
Oh.
and looking back at them, you think,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Oh, 100%, bro. And, you know, and like I said, my mate Eric Tate, he knew I was going through some struggles. He said, "Do you want to come to Melbourne?" So he took me to Melbourne for the Origin trip, and I wasn't in the best shape. I just got out of hospital. But you have mates like that, and then obviously my girlfriend Jazz, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she'll come lay down in bed with me every night, and I'm looking like this, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when I looked at the photos at the movies, she has the biggest smile on her face. I have a smile on my face, but like she's just happy being in my company. But I'm probably happy because I'm off my head, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And looking back at that photo, like it's just disgusting. I mean, I've got a special person by my side, and
Yeah.
I'm being disrespectful. You know what I mean?
And that's it. There's so many people in our lives that we just take advantage of, but not even thinking of it in that way. It's just like, oh, they're there for us, they're there for us.
Yeah, and you keep, you know, and there's a time when they're going to say this is enough because you keep leaning on them and you keep playing the victim, poor me. But what are they doing? They're supporting your habit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I wasn't going to work. Jazz was paying, my girlfriend was paying the rent. I was asking my girlfriend for loans, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and think I'm a big man that's how I was doing it. I was getting my own money to do it because
Yeah.
I wasn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was being a junkie. I was
Yeah.
asking my missus for money.
Yeah. No, and that's it. And thanks for your honesty, bro.
No,
You know,
that's-
and then going to, you know, the other person, Eric Tang is more brother than most people I've met in my life.
Right, he's one of the brothers, brother.
The,
You know, he should be a brother.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking, bro. Like,
he loves us, bro, and we love him, you know what I mean? And, I talk to him every day. He actually messaged me this morning, you know, have a good day, my brother.
yeah,
So just having someone like him around, and I can always bring up, and
yeah,
especially having a down day, you know. And, you know, I've had heaps of brothers like that. Like, yeah, I could reach out to you, got one or two, you know what I mean? Got brothers like Rob Bryan, you know, like he's always been there for me, you know what I mean?
Yep.
My brother Matt, Rome, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of brothers.
yeah,
That's the thing we need to do these days is reach out to our brothers.
Yeah.
For many years, women have always reached out to other women. and spoke, you know, but there's always been that stigma of brothers that don't talk about your problems, you know what I mean? But since doing AA and NA, being in them rooms, I've seen big men cry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes, and I've cried in meetings, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing to be ashamed of at all.
Yeah, and that's, you know what I mean? And thinking of big men, we know your brother in a whole different way. Like if you look at your brother, he's an intimidating man when you look at your brother.
Yeah.
But
he is, just intimidating. But if you get to know him, you know what I mean? He's got a big heart.
No, exactly. And
He's
it's,
got a big heart.
you know, in the podcast with your brother, I said to him something he didn't even remember because he just done the love of me, like, and little things like that he didn't remember. And he started choking up. He goes, "Fucking hell, you got me crying." You know, and it's just. But my big thing in what you just said, bro, is historically, when we talk about brothers, we're accountable to each other, and it's something we've lost through colonisation.
Yeah.
Because we've been torn away.
Yeah, that's it, brother. Yeah. But there was men's business, there was women's business for a reason. Obviously, men's went and talked about what they needed to talk about. And so we got that taken away, and women, like, they're stronger, brother. You know what I mean? They're just, without women right behind us, where would we be? You know what I mean? But in saying that, we need. It's since I was young, I've noticed a lot more men are speaking up, and there's a lot more things out there, and it's good.
Yeah,
it seems good.
I had a conversation the other day, and just because you know, a lot of your passion for youth, and it's always been youth work as long as I've known you. One of the things I was thinking about the other day is. You think of youth crime at the moment, as they say, it's always at its highest. But for our mob, we're the most disconnected we've ever been. And it's interesting because if you look at an aspect of, for your and my generation, it's probably the most disconnected. But the next generation's language and stuff is starting to come back in. And we're not talking enough about the disconnection of us not relating to them, wanting to learn language and be on that journey because a little bit of resentment because it wasn't there for us, but also not knowing how to support that as well.
Yeah. It's hard, bro, because it's coming back. You know, I see Lorna, my cousin. She's learned our language, Wiradjuri language. You know, and that's mad. You know, and Jason Wood, my nephew, he says words and that, and it's so mad to hear it. And like I said, it's not taken away, and it's never there. You know, and I've always had that resentment towards not all white people when I was younger. Because it was always they took our land. But it's not all white people. You know, I mean, I have best mates that are white, but I would never say it to them. But when they bring their other mates around, I'll treat them different because you know. And it's not. You can't do that because it wasn't them. It was the people in the past. You know what I mean? So, I think for us to move forward, we have to just put the past in the past, but we have to acknowledge that yes, we're on stolen land as well, you know what I mean? And things get taken away from us as well, you know. And for a perfect example, like if we had a treaty like the Maoris, it would be so much better, you know what I mean? Like, they learn the multicultural in schools and over there, you know, and that's good, bro.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day we'll do it here.
Yeah, that's the big broad thinking, bro. So hopefully it does, right? So going back a bit to your journey there, so you talked on AA and NA meetings. How was the first one for you?
So I'm trying to think the first meeting.
Did you do it while you were up the Glen? Or?
No, the first meeting I probably done was in jail.
Yep.
Do you remember Narrandera?
Yep.
The Long Bay Drug and Alcohol Program. That was in jail. Well, I actually did it before that. Court made me do it when I was 19, but I just did it because court made me do it. But when I was in jail, this is what made my journey, started my journey really. And they had people come in that done the program that left jail and were still clean.
Okay.
And so a couple of the boys came in, and there was an Aboriginal lad came in named Justin. I still talk to him now, and so this was back in 2011. He was probably then 4 years clean. I don't know what he said, but he spoke. I related to his story. I got out of jail, and then through parole, they wanted me to keep doing programs. So I stayed doing that program, and I reached out to him, and ever since then, he's tried to get me into the Glen a few times.
Yep.
Took me to meetings. So the first meeting that was him. He spoke and just something he said.
Something,
Due to him, he's always had my back, and I'm here now, I am today because of him.
Yep.
He will say it's because of me, but without his guidance, I wouldn't be where I'm standing right now.
No, that's good, bro. And you touched on, before where brother Eric there took you down to Melbourne and you're in hospital. Was you in hospital for your addictions?
Yeah, I was in hospital at St. Vincent's due to addictions, mental health. I visited hospitals a couple of times. I went to hospital the first time, so this second time when Eric asked me to come to Melbourne. The first time I was in hospital was I OD'd.
Yep.
I died. I woke up, the nurse was there at the bed, and my girlfriend was at the end of the bed, Jasmine, and she was crying, and the nurse said, I just ran back to life and stopped breathing for 40 seconds, and it hit me, but 2 weeks out, I stayed in there for 2 weeks, got out and I was straight back on it. I didn't learn nothing, and then the second time, mental health, I was suicidal, I wanted to kill myself. I've tried cutting my wrist, I've tried doing things. So Eric was I got out of hospital, Eric's like, you're gonna come to Melbourne. Right, like that was the best feeling, I was out of hospital for like 2 days, went state of origin, and it was mad, right? Eric was the best, I can't thank him enough.
Yeah. And the thing with Eric, it's not, his love of somebody's not fueled on what you do, it's who you are. And who he sees you as.
Yeah, that's it, right? He doesn't look at what he can get from you, what he can gain from you. He generally loves the person for who you are.
Yeah.
He'll respect you for who you are. He won't treat you any different to how he treats me or treats you.
Yeah.
He'll treat his mum the way he treats his best friend, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's just how he is.
Yeah. And, and there's many reasons that we can go into why you got out and started using again at the hospital. But anybody who's been through that journey knows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
just the easy way out.
Yeah, and it's had Georgetown Quack on the podcast as well. And his way of explaining, he goes, and because he's a great reviewer, he goes, this is the after effect. It's because we're not dealing with everything else that come before that, childhood stuff, stuff that happens for us in jail, stuff that happens for us in society, racism. There's all these other layers that we don't process.
Yeah.
So we think through a white lens is all we can't talk about it. Can't go to a brother or reach out and have a note about it. So let's just numb it, push it down.
Yeah.
Push it down when we can't push it down anymore. It's like, okay, well, start drinking. Okay, the drink is not working anymore.
Yeah.
I'll escalate to something else.
100%. Yeah, well, that's it, brother. You like what Pac said, you're pushing everything away.
Yeah.
So when you do get sober, the childhood trauma comes up, all the memories come up, what happened to you as a kid, what happened to you, what you would have forgotten about.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like it's happened to me, I've probably acted because of something's come up and I've had a shit day and it's been taken out of someone else, you know what I mean? And, but because we're not escaping it by using drugs or alcohol, we've got to face the reality, face on, you know what I mean? Because some people have been taught these tools when I was a kid, like go talk about it. But with me, I can't talk about anyone else. I've always needed a father figure because obviously my father he was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Then my uncle passed away when he was young, and my brother obviously has been on the podcast. He was speaking about his journey. So I went to the streets, and then that's what I learned, just drinking and drugs.
Yeah.
So no one talks, no one says, no go speak to someone.
Yeah. And for you, it would have been, and as you said, your brother's been on the podcast, he wouldn't be speaking out of school, but something you sent him to.
Yeah.
He went to the streets looking for that reinforcement as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, as every kid, you have a dream.
Yeah.
My dream was Like if I've a blackfellow being an NRL player or being an AFL player or whatever, you know, my dreams being an NRL player or a basketball player. I mean, my dad was, I seen my dad in and out of jail, seen my brother in and out of jail. Then I seen people around me in the area in and out of jail. Then Aboriginal men that I looked up to in and out of jail, you know. So, automatically, I thought I was going to jail. You know what I mean? And,
You think it's okay?
and I think it's okay, like literally, bro, I remember saying to the boys, like, they're not going to catch me.
Yeah.
But when they do, I hope they don't catch me for all the things I've done, you know?
Yeah.
And I was young, 17, thinking that, you know, and then until you see it in Surrey Hills at 18 years of age, you know, with 6 other people, and then there's a toilet right there, you know, you start to think, what have I got myself into? You know? But, so.
And someone's strung out from the heroin use and they're on the toilet.
You're all night on the toilet, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's when you're like, what have I done, you know what I mean? And, then now it's too late to cry around, but then, you know, like, you gotta accept it. There's a time when you gotta accept it.
No, exactly right. And so, what's been the biggest thing in these 7 months that's kept you going, other than yourself?
Just seeing the smile on my mum's face, my girlfriend's face, making them happy. Like I spoke about my sister-in-law, Jasmine, she's been a big part of my life too, you know. When she came to visit me in hospitals, she's been there for a lot. To see the smile on her face as well, you know. And as you can tell, women in my life, they're raising me. So seeing the 3 main women in my life happy, make me happy, you know what I mean? And it gives me drive. And then one day, hopefully, we'll have a kid. I see that smile on their face and making them happy every day.
Yeah.
So that's my drive.
No, it's definitely right. The last question is, you know, when it's all said and done and you're up in the drink line, what do you want JP to be remembered for?
Honestly, I want J Thompson me to be remembered as just me, respectful man, just making a difference for myself and the community. And I just don't mean my community, I mean communities around Australia for Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people that are struggling with addictions and mental health.
Thank you, Russ.